everyone. My name is Hanae Ono from University of Tokyo. This study is collaboration with Ko Hayakawa and Takeo Kondo. I'm truly honored to present on behalf of our team today. So in our research, we explore how socially isolated youth in Japan are being supported through community-based and relationship-centered care. Today, I introduce one example where storytelling has become a powerful way to find engaged local residents who accompany isolated youth in their everyday lives. But before I go into the details, let me share a little bit about where I work. So although I'm working in the Tokyo University, but I'm also teaching in Toyooka, a small city in Hyogo Prefecture, Western Japan. The Toyooka is, Toyooka is a quiet and beautiful place surrounded by mountains, rivers, and the sea. And it's famous for a bird called Oriental White Stork, called in Japanese konotori, a symbol of living together with nature. And the city also has many wonderful places to visit. One is Kinosaki Onsen, the hot spring, a traditional hot spring town with wooden house, and like a scene from an old Japanese movie. In the north, we have also Takeno Beach with clear blue water and white sand, and very popular in summer and winter. So we can also have ski in Kanabe Highlands, an old volcanic area. So Toyooka is full of life, mountain, rivers, hot spring, and sea. And it's also home to lively theater culture. So including the Toyooka Theater Festival every autumn. So Toyooka is a place where art, nature, and community come together. But like many rural areas in Japan, it's also faced social challenges, especially how to support young people who feel disconnected from society. So across Japan, we are now seeing a growing number of socially isolated youth, often referred to as hikikomori. Yeah. To understand these challenges more deeply, we first need to know what hikikomori really means. The word describes people who stayed away from school, work, and society for more than 6 months. It's not just staying at home, but a long period of being apart from others. It's not a medical term. It means a social condition, a life that has become separated from education, job, and community. So according to Japan's Cabinet Office, about 1.46 million people aged 15 to 64 are living like this, around 2% of the population in Japan. So among them, about 44% have been isolated for more than 5 years, and 20% for over 10 years. Yeah, here. So, and the people affected are changing. It used to be mostly young men, but now we see women in the 30s and 40s. And more people in small town or rural area where support is harder to find. So many cases started with a school refusal during teenagers. Once that happens, it becomes harder to return to society, especially when helps come too late or not at all. So these numbers are serious, but they don't tell us what life actually feels like inside those homes. And that's what I'll talk about next. So behind those numbers, there is a home. For young people who stopped going to school, withdraw from society, home can be both shelter and a wall. The parents fill the gap left by public system. So parents provide food, care, and comfort their children for years. But this quiet care has a cost. So many parents feel alone and ashamed or blamed for their children's situation. Over time, the silence grows heavier and families stop reaching out. The world becomes smaller. So as I told, when isolation begins, it's often start in teenage years. So with school anxiety or refusal. But after they turn 18, youth service ends, and family are left on their own. So in rural areas, small NGOs and neighbors are often the only bridge back to society. So why is it so hard for young people to return to society once they've stepped away in Japan? So first, Japan is follow a straight line model of life. So school, then work, then belonging. So success is measured by staying on that line. So when someone falls off, there are few second chances. So losing the line often means losing not only income, but also recognition and self-worth. Second, the support system is fragmented. Different ministers like education, welfare, labor, each run their own programs. They're usually short-term and poorly connected. So when school ends, support ends. When funding ends, programs disappear. The third, cultural value makes their things even harder. Harmony, called in Japanese wa, or shame, haji, and endurance, gammon, discourage people from asking for help. So families keep problems inside, and institutions respond only after things become serious. All these pressure build invisible walls. So isolation becomes a part of the social structure, quietly passed from one generation to the next. So that's why rebuilding trust must come first. And slowly, Japan is beginning to recognize that. So let's look at how new forms of support are emerging. So if the old system don't work, what kind of support really helps? So for a long time, youth policy focused on getting people back to school or work as quickly as possible. But for those who have lived in isolation for years, this fix and reintegrate model is too rigid. They are not ready to perform right away. So what they need first is emotional readiness, what Japanese practitioners call kokoro no junbi, and the chance to rebuild trust, both in others and in themselves. So recently, Japan has begun to rethink how to support isolated youth. So more local governments and community groups are experimenting with new approaches, moving away from rigid system toward more flexible relationship-based support. The focus is shifting from fixing individuals to working alongside them, and from short-term outcomes to trust built over time. So in our study, we focus on community-based initiatives that support children and young people who have withdrawn from school or society, not through strict program or therapy, but through long-term human relationships. So we have three goals: to understand how grassroots practices rebuild connection and well-being, and how small local effort creates space where isolated youth and community meets again. The second, to see how ordinary citizens, not professionals, take part through empathy, listening, and shared stories. And third, to inform future policy, we want to shift the focus from quickly reintegration to deeper inclusion. So we call this idea relational inclusion. So it's see inclusion not as a program, but as a gradual process of rebuilding trust over time. So the next we will see, I'd like to introduce a real example of this approach. A community-based nonprofit organization called Kusanone, led by Ms. Yurika Watanabe. So Kusanone means grassroots mutual support here. This organization was founded in Nagoya 2011 by Watanabe. So she had worked in advertising and design before becoming a mother. After experience how difficult it was for women in Japan to return to work, so she decided to start this organization to support others in similar situations and youth. So what began as a small volunteer group has now grown into a team of over 30 people working with local government in Nagoya. So their work continued to grow, focusing on connection before solution. So how does Kusanone put this into practice? So Kusanone is running 3 main programs. The first is consultation support, outreach-based counseling and open spaces where anyone can drop in, talk, or simply spend time. The second is daily life support, helping with housing, health, and family issue. It's not just advice, it's being there when life gets hard. The third one is employment support, creating flexible work environment that fit each person's pace and strengths. And today, let me zoom into first pillar, consultation support, through Xanone's Children and Youth Consultation Center. So the Children and Youth Consultation Center in Nagoya is one of the Xanone's core initiatives and established in 2013. It supports children, youth up to age 39 and their families, especially those facing school refusal, social withdrawal, or other forms of isolation. The team includes social workers, psychologists, counselors, and teachers, etc. So each bringing different expertise, yet sharing one belief that relationship is the foundation of any meaningful support. So their work has grown steady over the years. In 2023, the center supported 1,028 individual clients, 9,691 consultations, and 3,422 outreach visits, collaboration with 357 partners organizations. So these numbers shows that both the rising need and the community's growing trust in their center. So the center isn't just a counseling office, it's a relational hub, connecting individual families, schools, and public service. So now let's look at who these clients are. Most of the clients are teenagers and young adults. As you can see, the largest group is between 15 and 24 years old. Together, they make up nearly 2/3 of all clients. So this tells us something important. Early intervention, especially during adolescence, is essential to prevent long-term isolation later in life. So now that we've seen who the clients are, let's look at what challenges they face in daily life. The top 3 concerns reported in consultations were: the first one is parent-child relationship, strained communication, conflict, or emotional distance at home. The second one is school refusal, not attending school due to stress, anxiety, bullying, or difficulty coping. The third is development disorder. So neurodevelopmental differences such as autism or ADHD that affect running and daily life. So these concerns often overlap. Family, school, and mental health are deeply connected. So in this sense, isolation is not only an individual issue, but also family and social one that requires collective care. So at the consultation center, social workers, psychologists, and counselors give advice and work together with school and other organizations to support children and young people. But what makes this center special is the help of many local people called Yorisoi supporter. So Yorisoi means to stay close with care. There are people from community, neighbors, parents, or shop owners, etc., who simply care. Their strength is not in skills, but in their kindness, just being with someone, not trying to fix them. So what does Yorisoi look like in everyday life? So Yorisoi supporter visit young people who have withdrawn, they chat, they work, share hobbies, or join art activities together. Over time, these small moments build trust. As one practitioner said, time itself becomes a form of care. What makes this approach powerful is its mutuality. So Yorisoi supporters don't only help the young people, they also gain something from these experiences. So many supporters say that through these encounters, they rediscover joy, new perspectives, and a sense of belonging. So your supporter is not care for someone, but care with someone, a shared process that gently transforms both sides. So far, we've seen what Yorisoi look like in practice, but you might wonder, who are these Yorisoi supporters and how do they come to join this work? So interestingly, they are not recruited through formal program. Instead, they are discovered through small everyday encounters. So at the center of this process is Miss Yurika Watanabe, director of Kusanone. So this is a process to how Miss Watanabe found the Yorisoi supporters. So she meets people in ordinary situation. So rather than conducting interview, she simply chat, listen, and notice what each person truly care about. So, when she sensed that someone's interest in nature, art, or music resonate with that of a young person who visit the consultation center, she connect them, create a chance for relationship. So it's not about assigning task or role. It's about building relationship through shared curiosity and empathy. Okay, let me share one story that shows how this connection actually begins. So one day, a mother and her son came to the consultation center. The boy had stopped going to school and spent most of his time at home. So Miss Watanabe learned that this boy loved insects. Around the same time, she met a man in community who also loved insects. As she listened to him, she thought maybe this man could understand that boy's world. A few days later, she told him about the boy as another insect lover. So the man's face lit up, and I'd like to meet him. Maybe I can help the boy. This man said, and he decided to become a Yorisoi supporter. When they finally met, the boy and the man talked for hours about insects, and through his shared curiosity, the bridge was built. So soon, the boy began visiting the man's house, looking at insect books together, joining small local events and slowly reconnecting with the world around him. So this story shows how Ms. Watanabe discovered the idea of Yorisoi supporters and how storytelling itself can become a bridge. So the story of the insect expert is just one among many. Across the community, Ms. Watanabe keeps connecting people using storytelling as a bridge between them. For example, there was a man who loved playing Go. Go is a Japanese board game. He met a boy who had stopped going to school. Through Miss Watanabe's connection, they began meeting at local Go event, local club, enjoying the game together. The man later became Yorisoi supporter. And another time, Miss Watanabe heard about hairdresser and a girl who hadn't left home for months. So she shared their stories with each other, telling the hairdresser about the girl who loved fashion. The hairdresser decided to visit her for a haircut and later joined the network as a Yorisoi supporter. So in each case, the connection didn't begin with a program or plan. It began with Ms. Watanabe's listening, finding resonance, and using storytelling as a bridge. So this process is what we call relational narrative. So it's care that grows from trust, not persuasion. So here is how it works in 3 simple steps. The first step is listening and finding resonance. Ms. Watanabe spent time in different places around the community, like cafe or local events or small gathering, listening with curiosity and respect. So before offering help, she listened to understand. That is where connection begins. The second step, the storytelling and bridging people. So after listening, she retells each person's story in a way that feels safe and meaningful to someone else. And then she brings them together. It's not persuasion, it's finding shared meaning and creating first meeting. The third step is growing community. Through shared time and small acts, trust takes roots. Step by step, these encounters grow into a living network of care within the community. So far, we've seen how relational narrative builds trust through empathy and listening, how care grows naturally from relationships. But storytelling can serve another purpose too, not just connecting people, but mobilizing them toward action. That's the idea behind public narrative framework developed by Marshall Gantz at Harvard University and used worldwide in leadership and community organizing. Its goal is simple: to turn personal experience and values into shared purpose and collective action. The framework has 3 parts. The first part is a story of self, so who I am and what I care about. It's about sharing your personal motivation. So why this work? Why this issue? Why this matter to you? The second part is the story of us. So what we share, our common value and purpose, it connects your story to others, creating a sense of shared identity. And third, the story of now, why we must act together now. It brings urgency, reminding us that the moment to act is today. So together, these 3 stories link personal meaning with collective action. In Japan, public narrative, this one, has also been introduced in civic and local leadership programs, helping people articulate their shared goals and values. However, while public narrative seeks to move people through motivation and urgency, the relational narrative, today I introduced you, begin by listening. So listening to others' stories and building relationships through empathy. From this relationship, movement grows naturally. So next slide will show how these two approaches to storytelling take different orientation. So one inspiring action, the other sustaining relationship. So public narrative is designed to mobilize people toward a shared goal. It focuses on collective action and social change following the structure. As we saw, like from story of self, story of us, and story of now. In contrast, relational narrative begin with listening. So listening and finding resonance, so storytelling and bridging relationships and growing community. So thus, while public narrative builds a movement, relational narrative foster a community. So one activity collects motivation, the other sustain relational engagement. So in Japan, grassroots care practices, as illustrated Ms. Watanabe's approach, relational narrative demonstrate how storytelling can function as an effective framework for social inclusion and coexisting. So why does this relational form of storytelling work so effectively in Japan? So the approach of relational storytelling connects deeply with Japanese cultural value. So why does it work so well? The reason lies not in system, but in shared way of feeling, listening, and relating. So in Japan, communication often begins with listening before speaking. People tend to seek resonance rather than persuasion. There are not formal rules. These are not formal rules, but part of cultural rhythm, a natural way of being together. From this view, relational storytelling reflects a Japanese way of interaction. To understand this more deeply, let's look at how culture shapes that way people see themselves and communicate. It can be a little bit stereotype, but in many Western society, the self is seen as independent, something inside a person that is shared through words and action. Communication is often used to express opinions and convince others. In Japan, the self is seen as relational. It grows through meeting, listening, and responding to others. So philosopher Watsuji Tetsudo called this aidagara, which means that space between people. The self is not something fixed inside one person, but something created and renewed through relationship. So this view helps us understand why Ms. Watanabe's storytelling, listening first, adjusting to others' listen, and connecting people through everyday encounters works so well in our community in Japan. So relational storytelling is not only the method of care, it's kind of a cultural and ethical practice, a Japanese way of being together with others. So we've looked at several cases today, each showing how connection can be rebuilt through small, steady action. So these examples show that social isolation is not only personal matter, but reflection of how our system and communities work. In Japan, education and work have long defined belonging, yet they can also create barrier for those who fall outside that path. The relational narrative offer another way to see this. It's not just storytelling, but way to understand how trust and support grows through relationship. By focusing on everyday encounters, so listening, responding, and acting together, we can make inclusion part of ordinary life. So in this sense, relational narrative connects individual practice and policy, bridging human experience with social design. So that is where meaningful change begins. Thank you very much.
So thank you. That was another wonderful study. So now we learned how time itself actually becomes a form of care, and now how the systems can actually relate to relationships. And following that, we have questions for the presenter.
I'm from Japan.
Yeah.
But I can recognize first time.
Yeah.
How about your book? Yeah. And my question is,
yeah.
The client in Hanoi,
yeah.
and the people, young students who don't go to school.
Yeah.
Are there any difference of relations between them?
You mean between them? That means
Saying that the people who doesn't go to school and the client, that's same people who are the other.
So you asked me that the people
people who
doesn't attend
doesn't go to
school
and maybe a client of Sanome.
It's the same. Moment.
The same one.
Moment. I back to that. You mentioned this. Clients.
And for formal side, you mentioned the people who don't go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those clients, some of them don't go to school, and some of them stay at home. And those clients mean that they have some problems, like it can be parent-children relationship, can be school refusal, so they don't attend the school, and can be development disorder, so they have any kind of problem, and they came to the center of Xanone, and they got some consultation by Xanone.
Okay,
yeah.
I see. There are some relations between them.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Yeah. And the student, they don't go to school, so lots of specialists help the students, but aside and besides the Yorosoi supporter also help the student. Yeah, thank you very much for asking.
Very nice talk. Very informative. Put the same slide with the
Okay, this one?
I was wondering if you have some explanation for this obvious decrease from 15 years old to 40 plus in
this one?
dropping. Yeah, it's a pattern from 15 years to 40 plus years in dropping the percentage. And I was wondering if you have an explanation for that. Is it, or you look at it from a diachronic perspective, is this something that is going on right now, or it has been like this since forever?
Is that the tendency or something?
Yeah.
No.
Or the explanation, why is it so? It's decreasing with age, percentage problem. Why over 40s? They don't know, or they don't want to report it, or do they have same problems but they're ashamed to forward? Or it's a specific age group that has more problems, or what's the behind that time?
Okay. The first of all, this center is like up to 39, so that people can come to to get consultation. So that's why, like this. So over the 40s, they cannot come to for
So they can-
consultation. Yeah, but I think there are problems as well in those ages, like 30s, 40s, as I mentioned before. Like moment.
Alright, so we won't
Oh,
have the
no, I
picture
didn't.
yet. We'll have it.
Here.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Clinic, or
so
we won't
that
break for
before
just
that
another one for
hikikomori,
lunch when
so
we're
they're not going to school,
Okay.
like only young
Alright,
men.
alright.
But nowadays, in those days, that the woman and woman in 30s, 40s, so a lot of women cannot go out from from home, and especially in rural areas. But as you mentioned, that I
It
think
seems that we go better with age, but it might not be the case. Maybe we just hide it better. I don't know.
yeah, that's a problem because it might be there are more people that they cannot go out and they stay and they hide and they feel like, oh, I'm ashamed. So
Thank you very much.
yeah. Thank you very much for your questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. Enjoyed it very much too. You said your resource support is the public workers. They are not recruited but found.
Mhm.
I think that's quite a hard job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who finds them and what are they looking for?
So the director of children and youth consultation, Sanone. So she started to find the local volunteer resource supporters because she saw that only specialist is not enough to make the children recover. So the local communities and the power. So she thought that she needs to local communities power, and but so she wanted to make the relationship with them, the local community and the children, but she didn't know how to do that. But one day she thought, okay, maybe this person can be can stay with this boy, or maybe this shop owner can stay with them. Then she started like grassroots movement, and now the staffs in Kusanone started to work like that. So all the staffs in Kusanone also work like to find and discover the local people. So that's a very unique activity, unique initiatives in Japan. So and the Japanese government also like, oh, that's a good initiatives in Japan. Yeah, of course it takes time and it's very difficult to find that in local people. But yeah, yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for me too. My question is, there's the consultation center,
Mhm.
but hide away,
Mm.
who comes to the center, and is there interaction with professional ones, those who do it voluntarily?
I don't know. Could you repeat it again?
Question is,
Consultation?
comes to the consultation center, friends,
Yeah, of course. The parents can come.
is action between professional health
Yeah.
persons and those good
Mm.
voluntarily.
So it depends on the case. So can be the parents come to ask help. Okay. The many times that children doesn't want to come with parents, right? So always staying at home. So only parents come to consultation center for help, asking for help. And there is this kind of rooms, very personal space, and they give their problem, they talk their problems, and first of all, that professionals talk with the parents or the children, and they なんていうのかな、なんていうのかな、plan how is the best way to care and help for them. So it can be like only professionals, or it can be also with your resource supporters, local volunteers. So yeah, it just depends on the case, I think. So they have to think of.
So I think professionals, they have to learn.
Mhm.
You told it too rigid,
Mm.
our system.
Ah,
Back to school,
yeah.
it has to go fast, you have to go to school.
Yes.
This is pressure
Yeah.
many
Mm.
children can't stand.
Yeah.
Learn
Mm.
to do those.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. So with that, thank you so much. So